Hey everybody, hopefully sound's coming through, new software, all that kind of stuff. We tested it beforehand, but you know how that goes. I can screw up anything at this point. Ever since I got, both computers going and all that. So hopefully, let me know you can hear me, and then we'll get right started. So yes, the first thing to know is there is no super chats. I've turned that off, and I'm gonna kind of explain why. And good, so audio's good. So start with the rant. As you guys know, I was pretty sick for like 7 days. Couldn't really get out of bed. It was pretty scary. Got a multitude of tests. I appreciate everyone that chimed in. I did get, what is it, DVT, which is like a vein thing checked out. I got, what was the other one that I got? Like an ulcer, all that kind of stuff. Like I got checked out for like a million different things, honestly. And the good news is, I'm as fit as they come, pretty much. Like we ran every test. The bad news is we got to pay for it all. But it gave me a lot of time to think because you ran out of Netflix shows, that type of thing, and I'm just laying in bed thinking about Inner Zoo, where I just gotten back from, that kind of stuff. And what I was focusing on is all the people I had met, and I had made some really good friends, like George Farmer, Yuri's, I can't remember his last name, so I apologize. Chris Lukep, and a bunch of other people. Andy Graff. There's probably 5 more people that I just forgot, and so I don't want to slight them. So if I forgot you, I apologize in advance. But then there was a bunch. Well, maybe not a bunch, but there were definitely people that stand out where they were like top of their game, in terms of like their business is just a giant in the industry and that kind of stuff. And they were just not good people. I can't think of the right way to describe them other than saying they were like crazy dismissive unless you could do something for them. And so being the Inner Zoo was like one of the biggest events ever. I saw other YouTubers there. I saw all kinds of big corporations and companies and that type of thing. And these are people that interact one way, like online, or maybe it's their company presence or something like that, like they're in videos and that type of thing, and then you talk to them, it's completely different. And what I came away with is knowing that's exactly who I never want to become. So that kind of changed. So I'm like, how am I going to make sure I don't become these people? Because they're people that at this point their companies are millions and millions and millions of dollars, and that type of thing. They're kind of on top of the world, and they didn't have time for most people. Like if you weren't, I kind of watched them from, I tried to approach them and talk to them, and that didn't go well. And then I tried to approach them from like afar, or not approach them, but like watch from afar. And I watched them just do it to everyone, unless it was like another power player. And I just thought that was like, just the opposite of like how they got there. Some of these people had like grown communities and that type of thing, and then you watch them at the top. And so I desperately am paranoid that I will become that way. And I've got lots of growth and that type of thing lately, and I wish my YouTube viewer count was working. It's not working. My new software, I'll just turn that off. Oh wait, I can turn it off here. There we go. So some of the things I was thinking about, like, what do I miss from when I was a smaller channel? And it was these Sunday live streams. So, and I was just trying to figure out, like, well, why did I stop doing them? And what don't I like about them anymore? And I realized I stopped doing them because of super chats. And what I don't like about it is you're basically forced to read stuff that may or may not be engaging. And I think at the end of the show, I wasn't proud of what came out. So, like, don't get me wrong, I appreciate all the support, but it's kind of odd when someone says, like, just keep up the good work. Here's $1.99, right? Like that, you got to stop and kind of read that. And if you don't, some people are crazy offended. And if you do, some people are like, oh, you don't need to read that. It's just kind of giving you some money, like keep up the good work, that type of thing. And what I realized is I think I enjoyed the show much more when I just looked into the chat and pulled random questions that I thought were interesting. So the super chat changed the formula from pick what I think is interesting. If I've already talked about guppies 3 times this show, let's skip the 4th guppy question and go on to the African cichlid question. And I could do all that on the fly. And then as I grew, what happened, in my opinion, is there'd be so many super chats, which is like a good thing, right? Because money's coming in, that type of thing, that it would only become super chats. And then it became mostly who could afford to pay for the attention. And then you would have to just read that. So I've disabled super chats on my channel. And, so some people are going to be a little bit worried because the main goal was to make sure people could get help in a timely manner. That was the goal of super chats. That's why I enabled it. So like if you're like, oh my gosh, my clown loach is dying right now, what can I do? Here's $2 or whatever, some attention, we can get that answered, right? And it did do that, but only 1 out of 20 were that, and the rest was, it's so hard to talk about it because people are giving donations, that I don't want to badmouth it, but I feel like it watered down the show, and especially new fans and that type of thing. Maybe I was getting it a lot. People don't know why do I talk about tacos and all these things from the history, but we used to talk about all kinds of stuff in the live streams. And now it devolved. I think it devolved. That's the thing, is I think it devolved. And as time went on, in my opinion, the live streams, the quality and the fun I was having was getting worse. So that's what I think led to my not wanting to do it as much. Part of it, we also did a bunch of them for a while there. For a couple months, we were doing way too many, so it was maybe a little bit of burnout. But Latad says a lot of streamers do a minimum money for super chats, that type of thing. Yeah, the problem is if the goal for super chats is to let people get access to me and answer right away, I don't want to raise that cost barrier up. I don't want to say for $20 I'll answer your question. Oh, you only have $10? Sorry, I don't have time for you. That's not where I want to go. So what I have done instead is we've gotten rid of super chats. We're going to go old school style. And if you'd like to support what we're doing, I've doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on Patreon. I've redesigned the whole thing. A lot of you people might go, Patreon's dumb. I don't want any part of it. That's cool. You don't have to be. But those of you that want to be, at the $1 level, you can get in, and that's where I'm going to take my in-depth, I need help right now scene. You pledge $1, you can post up pictures, which is a good thing. I've watched Joel utilize this, and it does well for his subscribers. And there's a bunch of other perks, you could do all the other things if you want to. Now, you don't have to. That's the first thing. You can still send emails to the store and all that kind of stuff, and we still take care of it. But the in-depth conversations of the community where I miss, that's what I'm trying to harbor back. And we tried it with the Aquarium group support. We have a group of 10,000 people. The problem is 5,000 of those people still have no idea who I am. Facebook kind of just funneled people in, and it's not the same group, right? So that's what I'm trying to harbor. And so one of the things on the Patreon, for instance, if let's say you were an avid super chatter like a Daryl Dimer or a bunch of the other people, maybe you take that $20 or that $5 or that $1.99 and you put it there. And I think at the $5 level or something like that, you get access to a private live stream. So what does that mean? That just means that everyone at that $5 level, they get access to a stream where instead of having, I don't know how many people we have right now, we have 616 people watching, maybe there's only going to be 50 people. And there you can ask your questions and I can answer them, and it's more intimate. We can go back and forth a few times, and then someone asks, are you going to post that chat afterwards? And I don't know the official answer, but I think yes. So it'll just be there's a more focused group of questions, and maybe we go more in depth, and it's that smaller community. And if that blows up and there's 600 people at that level, we'll figure something else out. But at the moment, the channel is doing really well. That's great for business. But it's getting harder. Like last month alone, 17,000 new people found the channel. And what I'm trying to do is, I don't want to say separate out, but I want to make a group of people that are engaged. Like I want to engage with the people that want to engage. So the people that want to have a two-way street, I want to make sure that's happening. And the people that maybe just hit the subscribe button and just want to watch the videos, that's a different person, I think. You know, because there's plenty of channels that, let's say, I watch, but I really never leave a comment, like maybe tech reviews or something like that. And so I want to make sure that, you know, there's so many comments coming on the channel now that it's impossible for me to answer them all. And so I'm answering what I think are good questions and things that maybe already haven't been answered in that video and that type of thing. But, you know, at the moment, we're now like in the last 30 days, we're at like 3.2 million views. That means, you know, 3.2 million people have watched and 17,000 new subscribers, which brings us to what? Let me look at the thing. Like 162,000 people. And so I'm trying to create that smaller community over on Patreon. And I think it will work because let's say I hit the absolute Yahtzee and everyone in the chat goes over there right now and is like, sweet, I'm in on the Patreon. And, you know, now we've got a group of 1,000 people there. That's still completely manageable. I felt like this chat and all that stuff was easily manageable at 50, 60,000 subscribers, that type of thing. But now it's not as manageable in my opinion. So that's just kind of the rant of like I saw who I didn't want to be, you know, and I'm just taking steps to try and make sure I don't go there, and I'm trying to also I guess just be honest and that type of thing. So I do want to get back to normal questions and that type of thing. I also turned off Nightbot, let the mods do the work, but there's, you know, we'll just kind of moderate that as we need to. And I've got all the reminders kind of going up, and, you know, so you can find the link to a Patreon, or you can find the link to our local fish store webpage that we made, all that kind of stuff. So I haven't been around for a while, but Sunday live streams are great because it's my only day off in the week and I can watch and see you again. Yeah, I'm hoping to get back to a more connecting show. You know, for a while we were doing it for the, let's say, the views, so to speak. And so I'd put on a presentation and teach and that kind of stuff. And that was actually a lot of work as opposed to like sit down, talk. And that's where I have the most fun because I have no idea what you guys are going to ask me or what I end up talking about for an hour. I mean, to be honest, until about 6 hours ago, I didn't even know I was going to talk about Inner Zoo and all that stuff about me being sick and that kind of stuff. And so that I find to be rewarding for me. It makes me want to do it. Oh, water change is going on an 800-gallon right now. So yeah, Fishaholic says, what exactly is Patreon? In a very dumbed down explanation, it's a website that is made to support people that are creating something. You could be creating the world's best honey. You could be creating videos. You could be creating artwork, a podcast, whatever it is. That's the premise. And as a creator, what I can do is I can set different levels. So like my spiel on my page is called I'm creating the Taco Union, which for a lot of you people, you probably don't know what that is, but that's basically what the dedicated fans are. They're in the Taco Union. We love tacos. It's just kind of having some fun. And, you know, for $1, you get access to like the community page and a bunch of the perks that come with Patreon. It's kind of like you can get an app if you want, or you can go to the website. And like I posted a couple of videos yesterday and today, like they have a lens thing. It's like a story thing or whatever. But then there's like at $5 you get, I'll post up this private live stream I'm going to do once a month. You can be a part of that. I think for $10, I don't even remember off the top of my head, and I don't want to make it only about that. But I'm trying to think what else. at the $55 level, we made this mystery box thing, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun because I pick up these knickknacks when I'm traveling, but there might only be 3, but it's super cool, right? So like, oh, I'm gonna buy all these 3 of these things, and then each month, the following month after you make that $55 donation, we're gonna send out like these fun boxes of stuff. You know, it could be a handwritten card at Christmas. Could just be like, oh, I took a selfie with George Farmer with a Polaroid camera. We both signed it, a one-of thing. Like, that's what I want to do, a lot of one-of, just fun stuff. The goal isn't so that you, like, pledge $55 and then I send you $55 worth of fish food. The goal is we send you fun stuff. And there's, like, the $20 level gets you some discounts. Right now there's a discount to my store and Twin City Guppies, and as I work with more people, maybe they'll want to offer more discounts. Maybe that'll be cool. We'll see what that transitions into. But the overall goal of Patreon is to raise money, and then usually you do something with it. And so, like, the goals on the Patreon currently is $3,000 a month. That'll allow Jimmy and myself to travel somewhere and document some video and bring it back to YouTube. With 2 plane tickets and hotel rooms and that type of thing. That's basically what it costs, because where was I posting that earlier today? Somewhere I posted, on the community page, that we basically invested 10 days to make 2 videos when we were in Germany, right? So, that's where that cost kind of comes from. And then at like the $7,000 level, I think if we get to like fund to $7,000, which I realize for anyone sitting there, they're going like, that's a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but the goal is not just stuff it in Corey's pocket. The goal is that we could have a guest on the Real Fish Talk every week. We could fly people in that we've met and that type of thing. And let's say on average, that's $600 or $700 per guest. That's about $3,000 more per month. But we also got to get a hotel room for a few days for them and that type of thing. And so we're just trying to make some of these things that we want to see become a reality actually happen. The other thing that I've kind of run into is that I want to go speak at more clubs and travel a bit more and do some meetups, but no companies kind of want to sponsor that. And you might be asking, like, well, why doesn't Aquarium Co-op sponsor that? We do. But Aquarium Co-op isn't like this crazy thing where it's like, oh, there's unlimited profits and you could just do whatever you want. Like, we have to pay for employees and there's retirement and there's all these things going on, and there's, we got to expand, and there's software we're doing right now, like, and YouTube helps with that as well. But the overall goal is accomplish these projects, and Patreon can help do that. And the great thing about Patreon is it's reliable. So typically, if let's say we're making $3,000 a month on Patreon, we can guess that's going to happen roughly again next month unless we stop doing stuff. If we don't make any videos, everyone stops supporting us, and then it goes away. But right now, like, if the super chats were available, I have no idea. Are we going to make $22, $220? What about next week? And so you can't really like go, oh, this money right here is going to happen reliably. And then, the semantics of it is like a super chat you'd make today doesn't really hit the creator for like 60 days. So there's a huge lag time with all the payments out of YouTube and that type of thing. And so they also take a bigger percentage, but all that doesn't really matter. Supporting your creators, I do recommend, and I support, probably 10 or 11 of them. And so that's what Patreon is. I will be talking more about it, but not as long. Like, that was probably the longest explanation ever. But I will mention it and that type of thing. And, because, the more we can fund, the cooler stuff I can do. And me personally, I've seen the benefits of going to Germany, meeting the guy that can breed puffers, opened up my eyes, made a really cool video. Once he's done moving, I'd love to go back and actually film the entire fish room and keep traveling to do those types of things. And that's, my passion really currently is travel, get those videos out, because I'm not super passionate about making a fish store tour of my store and it's number 26. Like that. I'm not excited to, wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to film my fish store that I've filmed 25 times before. Like, I'll do it because people want to see it. And every month that goes on, there's X amount of new people that haven't seen the store. But in terms of you, the fans that have been here for a year, 2 years, 3 years at this point, like my goal is to bring new stuff to you, and hopefully the people that subscribe right now today, it will be enjoyable for them and the person that's been here for 3 years. And that's, I'm trying not to just make the same thing. And, you know, like honestly, if I didn't, well, I don't want to say have to, but we're already ordering fish. So like the unboxings, I myself don't enjoy really making them because we've unboxed those fish so many times, but new people to the channel love it because they hadn't seen it before. And because we already have to do the work already, we continue to do it. But I would love it if we could make 2 or 3 videos every week that are truly new to the channel, not just like, oh, we've done that before. And so that's where I'm trying to push towards, because if you just do the same thing all the time, it gets very boring for anyone with any job, any activity, any hobby. And so yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So, but I do want to answer actual questions. So, am I still running buy a t-shirt and get a free bottle of Easy Green? Yes, but we're sold out of most of the shirts. We'll be restocking later this week. We ordered over 1,000 of them. So, yeah. I want to highlight on my 40 breeder for Crypt Pink Flamingo and Crypt Florida Sunset. How do I do that without massive algae outbreaks? You need to balance the amount of light you're going to put in with nutrient uptake. And so with massive amounts of light, usually you have to inject CO2 as well. I don't think you'll have to use a ton of highlight to get the colors you want out of the Crypt Flamingo and the Crypt Sunset. I think some decent iron dosing with other fertilizers and the right amount of light, you'll accomplish that. Crypts in general, fairly low to moderate light. They're just very slow growers, and when conditions are optimal, they'll really, really look good. A lot of times we end up mixing those crypts with other highlight plants, and they outcompete the crypts for nutrients, and that's why the crypts don't look as good. So it's kind of a catch-22. We like a lot of variety in our planted tank, but at the same time, a lot of other plants grow much, much faster. So I'm currently looking for a new filter and have come across a few models with UV sterilizers. Are they required for modern filtration? I would not say they're required by any means. I don't know of one that has a UV built into an actual like filter, like Hang On Back or like a canister, that I really, really recommend. If in a perfect world, I recommend keeping them separate. Just because modular, I think, is better if one thing burns out. And things like the Sun, I think there's a Sun that comes with the UV built in. Like the plastic's not correct, so it actually breaks down the plastic and that type of thing. So I would say not required, and in general, make it be separate or modular. So, alrighty. Can we get sponsors from Petco or big chain stores? Unlikely, just because like a big corporation usually wouldn't want to sponsor someone who will tell the truth. Like there's telling the truth, there's not saying things, and then there's lying. So I would say most people that get sponsored by something are probably in the might omit information group, and very few people that are sponsored get sponsored because they will say whatever they feel like, So I would always say take that with a grain of salt. When you get sponsored or someone is sponsored, there's always going to be some favoritism there. Like it's almost impossible. It's kind of like my view on charity. Like it's really difficult to actually give to charity and not have it be a selfish act. Like I've talked in depth about it, but even if you don't tell anyone you did it, like donating to charity usually makes you feel good, in which case, that's like a selfish act, you know? So there's always going to be like a little bit of bias in there, and you hope that it's like just the least amount. So like kind of the same thing, like if you give $1 million to a charity and you don't tell anyone, like, yeah, you feel good about it, but it still did a bunch of good. Same thing with a sponsorship, kind of like, yes, you're kind of selling out to get that money, but if you're doing good things with it and you're not doing something grossly wrong, you know, by like saying, you know, like clearly this, well, like that Sun filter, like clearly the Sun UV sterilizer filter canister is the best one on the market because it's got the best profit ratio and I'm sponsored by them. So yeah. What are my summer tubbing plans this year? Well, this morning I was thinking about on both sides of the building like maybe like a 20-foot trough. I was trying to see how many gallons I could get, maybe like 4 feet tall with like a foot or two in the ground, like 36 inches from the wall, and then like 20 feet long. And I was thinking about doing one side Daphnia, like a sustaining culture of Daphnia, hopefully a lot. And then the other side of the building, trying to do a sustaining culture of live brine shrimp. And so it would be a saltwater pond, basically. But I don't know how many projects I have planned. I know I want to figure out what I'm doing with the koi. Am I getting rid of them? Am I building a giant pond? Am I doing something crazy? I know that's on the forefront. I haven't shown you guys except for like on Patreon and Instagram. But we moved one of the 360-gallon ponds up on my deck, and that has my albino red-eared slider turtle. So that was kind of a project, did that. Didn't really like film it though, because it's one of those things like I've filmed a bunch about the turtles and setting up different things already. So the motivation of like, ooh, do I want to film dragging this tub over here and setting it up and building it again? Like, not really. I kind of just want to enjoy it. So... someone asked what my average wage is at the aquarium co-op. I believe currently all my full-time employees are making at least $16 an hour, with some, you know, substantially more than that. We have one of the highest cost of living in the country. Housing's going up quite a bit, and so like to maintain employees long-term, which a lot of my employees have been with us quite a while now, you have to match kind of the local inflation. Otherwise, you get to a point where they can't afford to live close enough to where they need to work. And so, you know, that's part of the reason why, like, as we grow, our profits don't really grow that much because inflation, like the local kind of, you know, it's even weird to call it inflation, but, you know, like the cost of my home since I've bought it has gone up like $150,000. Now, I don't ever plan to sell or anything like that, but that's the thing is like, what if one of my employees wanted to buy a home and now it's $150,000 more expensive? You have to kind of, and well, I don't have to, but I choose to provide a wage that hopefully someone can, you know, have a partner and be able to buy a home, you know, and that type of thing. And so that's just one of my core statements is like, treat my employees how I want to be treated. I used to work at a fish store. I did not make enough that I could have bought a house. And the whole reason we ended up starting the store at the very beginning was to change the way a store ran. So let's see. Tori Cook is looking for some small, really tight schooling fish for a 55 community tank with soft water, pH of 7, under 100 TDS, and there's a wee bit of crushed coral in there, buffering for the cories you're raising. The tight schooling thing is a little bit difficult because the small and the tight schooling, there's not a lot of options. There's fish that school, but tight schooling would be like rummy nose tetras, emerald eye rasboras, tiger barbs. All those are really tight schoolers, but none of those I would consider small. So I think that's part of a problem there. You might be able to go with like neon green tetras. Green neon tetras. That's what I meant to say. Green neon tetras. But they don't school up super tight. You might be able to get that effect going on of like green neons, grow them out till they're a little bit chubby, and then put like a pearl gourami in there as maybe the predator. That might get them to school up a bit. But I think what you're seeking is harder to pull off than it sounds. If you're truly wanting a super tight school that moves as a unit. Sorry about that. I bumped the mic. Are paradise fish compatible with angelfish and a betta? On the surface, probably not with the betta. It depends on how big of an aquarium, that type of thing, but probably with the angelfish. So paradise fish, kind of a chunkier version of a betta. I think they're a little bit more mellow. They're definitely hardier, but anabantoids, which a betta and the paradise fish both are, they can be a little bit or a little bit aggressive towards each other. And, I would say have a backup plan. If you've got multiple tanks, you can try it, really keep a good eye, take the day off work, make sure it's working out, check it out the next day. Like maybe you introduce them on a Friday and you've got the whole weekend off and you're going to be working on projects at home. So maybe think about that. Big fish sellers don't want to sponsor competitors, even though Corey's company is local only for fish. Let me think. I actually believe, this is my own opinion, I think that people who sell fish online aren't sponsoring, let's say, content creators because they don't need to. Now, that might sound weird, but I feel like there's so few people selling fish online that are doing a good job that the competition's not fierce enough. If competition was very fierce, then you would need someone to say like, oh, you should go buy from Rachel O'Leary. You should go buy from The Wet Spot. You should go buy from Flip Aquatics. You should go buy from Imperial Tropicals. You should go buy but because there are so few, and I realize there's a lot of people that sell fish online, but there's also a lot of ones that don't do very well. So the reputation is already so bad that you kind of get some of these places rising to the top, if you will. And so usually what happens is in a competitive environment, it gets better for everyone because there's so many competitors. People that are supplying fish would have to do better. You'd have more options. You'd have more people providing more information and doing all that. So in my personal opinion, because it's such a difficult thing to pull off correctly, there's not a lot of competition. And that's why we're not seeing more of that kind of sponsorship go on in terms of actual, let's say, fish breeders and fish shippers and, I guess for lack of a better term, influencers. So, Valor Pet says, what's my opinion on hybrid fish? I'm perfectly okay with them. The only thing I don't like is when they get passed off as not a hybrid. So, let's say you had some really muddy yellow labs or something like that crossed with I'm trying to think of something they're going to cross with I've been out of cichlids too long, but I'm trying to think of another like a yellow lab and a Hongzlai. If you cross those, you get muddy yellow labs, and if you sold them as pure yellow labs, that I have a problem with. So, people can pretty much do whatever they want, enjoy how they want to enjoy it, but just make sure that we're accurately portraying what we've done or what we will be doing, that type of thing. Are super chats still available on Real Fish Talk and the Boo Studios channel? So far, yep, they are. It's kind of we're testing it here. So far, I'm really enjoying it because I don't have to worry, if I missed a super chat, am I falling behind? I'm just super enjoying just talking and taking them as they come, and everyone's got the same chance of me pulling their question without having to invest money. So I really am enjoying that. Pea puffers and a South American puffer in a 55 heavily planted tank. My response is I feel like it could work. Now, I wouldn't tell everyone to go do it, but if I had the inclination, I had a 55 super duper planted up, and I wanted a pea puffer and an Amazon puffer in there, I'd probably try it because I think it's enough space it could work. Obviously, if it doesn't work, pull one of them out, figure out what you're going to do, have that backup plan. But I wouldn't try it in a 20-gallon. I wouldn't try it with an army of pea puffers, and one. I would definitely take it very cautiously is what I would do. And I would look at it almost like I've got a pit bull, and now I'm getting a chihuahua. Like, they could be best friends, or that pit bull could view it as, a small thing it wants to kill. Or the chihuahua could just be aggressive against the big dog all the time, right? So treat it like you're introducing dogs to each other, and, have realistic expectations. This could go great, could go horrible. Just because it went fine the first day doesn't mean they're not going to fight over food tomorrow. Just be apprehensive, but I think it would be pretty cool when you're all done, watching the different puffers, and people that would probably see it would probably be like, oh my gosh, is that the baby of that one? That type of thing. So, Life with Pets is here. It says, hit that like button. Yeah, so if you want to, you want to help, hit that like button, share on your favorite platform, especially if you're like a person on Reddit. We pretty much never get any love on Reddit, so that's a big one. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those. That's how we bring new people in. That's how we bring people to the Taco Union. And, for, let's say, every 1,000 people that subscribe to the channel, we might get another, person that shows up every single Sunday, hangs out, really active in the chat, and that type of thing. And that's really what now I think my goal is, like, I want this army of taco people that, really understand the methodology and really want to help people, and, just craft that as much as I can, I suppose. Audacious says, last December, Southern California was still hot, 80 to 85 degrees. Do you think I could pull off guppies year-round? I would definitely be trying it. If I lived where you lived, I 100% would be trying it. If you're apprehensive, start with feeder guppies first or endlers. Typically, I find they're more temperature tolerant. But I'll say this. If I had your weather, I'd be trying all kinds of things. So, Mike says, I'll never stop watching, but wish I knew how to super chat. Well, don't worry, Mike. You're not missing out on anything. Super chats have been disabled. You go to the Patreon, buy from the website. There's plenty of ways you can support. You can just help another fish person out. But I've tried to level the playing field some. Ooh, that was a cichlid question I was going to try to answer. Where'd it go? If I can find it. Chat's moving quick. What kind of cichlids can I have with a German blue ram? Depends on the size of the tank. I would say you'd have to have at least a 20 long to start mixing different types of cichlids. I might try a Bolivian ram. I'm trying to think of other cichlids that I think would legit do okay. Maybe a Pistos, but I'd want to see it in like a 55 or something pretty large. Trying to think. Maybe keyhole cichlid in a larger tank. You could do probably keyhole cichlids. Angels. I know there's more, but my brain is just saying you can't answer them that fast. So. I didn't find any yet, but can you tell me where near Quebec? I think Flynn's talking to him, so I can't answer that. Are discus really that hard to keep? So discus, in my opinion, are not difficult to keep. They are lots of work. So, in my opinion, it's not difficult to have like a really good looking lawn if you mow it and you spend tons of time on it every week, right? Like you're like, oh, I'm going to pull that weed, I'm going to fertilize, I'm going to mow it, I'm going to keep it tall, but I'm going to mow it like twice a week, and I'm really going to baby this thing, right? So I don't think that is like hard as in a skill to do, but it is a lot of work. And I think discus fall into that category too. I don't think they're like actually difficult. I think they're just a lot of work. And for a lot of people, myself included, lots of work turns into, oh, I'm not really doing it. And so then it becomes more difficult. The same reason my lawn doesn't look amazing, because I just don't care enough to make it look amazing. So that, they are a cichlid. I do feel like they're pretty tough as far as a fish goes when you're keeping them in the parameters they want to be in. Like, I don't think they're difficult. I think people mix a lot of fish that shouldn't be mixed with them. If you put fish that eat faster than they do, of course they're going to like get skinny, stop eating, and have problems. So, A really nice hybrid is the electric blue Okara. Yeah, those are cool. I've had some customers breeding them. I haven't bred them myself, but I've wanted to. Would I be able to tell an electric blue Juhani and Mangiano? I'm trying to think. I gotta look up the Mangiano because I feel like they're yellow. Maybe just the females are though. Let me see if I can. I don't know that I could without doing a little bit of research. Like I'm not a fan of the electric blue Juhani, and yeah, so I don't think I would be. Electric blue Juhani female's yellow though, right? Now I gotta see, just because. Yeah, they are yellow. Okay, I was right, but I would wager it's like, how do I explain it? If you know how to tell the difference between a Rhodes and Chipoke, like there's a fine line in the way the white and the black and the yellow is, and the stripe, one's jagged, one's more clear. I would have to spend time looking at pictures and then look at your fish to be able to differentiate between the two, and that's not a skill I just have sitting in my brain at the moment. So that's why I would say no, I couldn't off the top of my head. If I walked into a store and someone said, is this or is this, I would struggle. So, all right. What kind of cichlid? Oh, wait, I got that one. Sweet, I'll move on. If you increase the number of plants, do you need to increase the amount of lighting? Sometimes, Chuck. Only when they start shading each other. So if you have a light and you've got plants and they're not shading each other, no. But let's say you got a stem plant that starts overreaching a little bit, or Vallisneria starts overreaching and it's blocking the light. Like you can see on my hand right here, right? So as something starts to come over, it's starting to shade it a bit, right? If that's happening and your plants are starting to struggle down here, adding some more light. So if the light is kind of this way on your aquarium and you're getting some shading, if you put a light over here or over here, it's going to allow the light to come in from the side and help light up some of the under, like I guess you call almost the under canopy of it. But in general, no, I don't really change much lighting. I would probably trim and maybe move plants around before I would strictly add light. But you should buy all the lights on my website, by the way. Just buy them all. You need them all. So, why don't I make any marine aquariums? Part of it is I haven't found the right people I want to partner with. So, because I don't sell very much saltwater marine stuff at all, what I find is what I do. So like if I was to set up a tank right behind me and I feature some stuff, people are going to start asking, where did you buy that? I want to get it. And all those questions keep going, right? So if I was to do that, like I have a tank I want to build. I basically want to build, is it green star polyp? My brain is, I guess I'm tired today. I don't know. Let me see. Is it green star polyps? Yeah. So I want a green star polyp carpet, and then I want a carpet, and I want to make the stone in there so it looks like an Iwagami setup for a freshwater tank. And then I want to do a bunch of like big cleaner shrimp and have a huge refugium on it and have some mandarin gobies in there and that type of thing. So, but the problem is, once I start setting that up, when people start going, oh, that's super cool, where do I get it? Those questions will come in hundreds a week, right? And I want to be able to go, yes, I got it all from CoreySaltwaterSupply.com or whatever that website is, or whoever I'm going to work with, so that I can make it easy. Because what I've found in the past is showing people how to do stuff, and then if they can't do it, they literally get angry at me. So I don't want to create that situation. So that's one of the reasons I haven't really gone into marine. I do enjoy it, but I want to find the right people to work with so that I can easily recommend them and have it work out. Like I have reached out to some like saltwater, I guess, retailers and stuff. And, so far it has gone the opposite of good, I would say, So that I got a better chance of Taco Bell sponsoring my saltwater tank than a saltwater company, apparently. Trying to find how many Fluval 3.0 lights would light up a 45 to 75 gallon tank. Well, 45, I would just use one. A 75 depends on what I was trying to grow, but it's either one or two. I can say on the 800 gallon tank, there's 4. On my 230 gallon tank in my living room, I want to upgrade it to 2 4-footers and 2 2-footers because it's a 7-foot long tank. At the store, we have a 75 gallon tank where we were running 1 and 2 Stingrays, but then we had someone return a light, so we ended up putting 2 on it, not because we needed it, just because, like, may as well. So I would say between 1 and 2, depending on what you're going to try to accomplish. So, I'm a sports car collector, and I'm getting into the fish keeping hobby. I'm wondering what are some of the best fish to keep in a 20 gallon. I was trying to think of something witty, like some kind of sports fish. All I could think of was like cardinals, like the Cardinal baseball team, Cardinal Tetras. Have I done a video that's got the best fish for a 20 gallon? I don't know that I have. But you could look in my video library on the channel. There's like best fish for X size tanks. Usually anything that would go in a smaller tank does really well in a bigger tank. So if you go, oh, look what he recommended for 10 gallon, you have lots more space in a 20 gallon. So I would go off those recommendations and test your water to see where you're starting at. If you have super hard water, maybe you're going to do some shell dwellers. If you got super soft water, maybe you're doing a planted tank. How long will CO2 roughly last? It depends on how fast you inject it. Like at the warehouse, we get about 5-6 weeks out of a 20-pound cylinder. On my 230-gallon tank in my living room, I probably get 9 months out of a 10-pound cylinder. And then, like, if you had a 20-gallon, you might get 2 or 3 years out of, like, a 5-pound cylinder. So really depends on how much is coming out and how many hours a day, assuming you're using a solenoid. So, all right. Why don't we see more native fish in our local fish store? I'm not 100% certain why, but I know, like, in Washington, any native to Washington is illegal for me to sell or collect or anything like that. But I don't know other states. Maybe that's one of the things. But at the same time, maybe it's a hard sell of like, oh yes, buy this pumpkin seed fish. It's $8.99, and then someone like leans over like, you can go catch that behind the Costco on 8th Street, right? Like maybe it's one of those things. I don't know. But I think a lot of it is like, out of all the aquarium or out of all the fish that are natives, maybe there's only like 20 different types that would do really well in an aquarium, and then maybe it's just not popular enough. Like you can buy them from like Jonah's Aquarium and that kind of stuff. Like they're cultured, but still not many people are keeping. Plus, a lot of them need live foods or at least picky with foods. So maybe that's half of it too. All right. So Trump put an import tariff on tacos from the Pacific Rim. I will say I've been dying for my business channel to get to 10,000 subscribers so I can get a community page, because I desperately want to talk at length about why is it cheaper for people I work with in China to send stuff to me than it is for me to send stuff to Oregon. Like the Chinese government is subsidizing, along with eBay and that kind of stuff, that like to send this water bottle from China to me might be $1.15. For me to send this water bottle to Oregon would be like $6. So that is, a problem when it comes to trying to run an online business for sure. So I'm desperately, once I get there, I want to bring up those kind of articles and because I want people to educate me. Like I can Google so much, but there's probably people that know more behind the scenes stuff that can really, chime in on that kind of stuff. Go, oh, here this agreement went down and this happened and here's what was going on at the time. Because like those decisions were made back when I was, let's say, 14. Like I wasn't really watching the e-commerce landscape to know like, oh, that made total sense back then and now it's not making sense or whatever. So, but yeah, I desperately, once that channel gets there, I just want to talk business because it's fun. I'm concerned that aluminum aquarium products will get too expensive. Yeah, I mean they're definitely like aluminum stands and that kind of stuff. Some like fish wholesalers build out of that. It's crazy expensive. I can't afford to build my store out of it. Aluminum in general is expensive, but it will hold up virtually forever. So there's that plus. But you might not be in business forever either. Have I ever seen Hemichromis exul? I gotta Google it. I don't think so. I mean, Hemichromis should be in the jewel cichlid family, right? Let me see. Yeah, so it is a jewel. Well, I shouldn't say it is a jewel cichlid. Like, that's a big family. But I don't think I've seen them in person, no. I mean, they're definitely looking good in these pictures from Aquarium Glacier. But I don't think I've seen them in person. No, because I don't think Lawrence Kent had them. But no, they look good. I would wager they're pretty mean though. So, all right. Would Celestial Pearl Danios work in a 20-gallon tank with some tetras, rasboras, and coolie loaches? Yes, they would. I would just make sure you don't have tetras that are super boisterous because Celestial Pearl Danios are kind of slow feeders and they only want to eat mid-water. And if you had something like silvertip tetras, they'd probably gobble up most of the food, and you might lose the Celestial Pearl Danios to lack of food. Like over a long period of time, that would take quite a bit. So, can I feed my Fox Puffer wild pond snails from a natural pond? You can. You might be bringing in parasites, so you might want to deworm every once in a while. Which I learned something, by the way, when I was talking to the puffer guy, Marcos. He gave me his presentation, which was awesome. I got basically a one-on-one presentation that he normally gives to clubs. And a lot of times people ask if they can feed garden snails to puffers. And he knew much more about it. And he said, yes, as long as you freeze them, because some snails will, when they're getting eaten, they, release a bunch of slime or, stuff, and it can get caught in their gills. So I definitely learned something there. What's my favorite large aquarium fish? Probably a Mabu pufferfish. I'm trying to think. Large clown loaches always look really cool to me. I'm trying to think what else. I'm usually impressed by a good Frontosa display aquarium, even though I don't find them personally fun to keep. But a lot of times I get jealous, going, "Oh man, that you really did that one well," So I'm trying to think what else. I mean, they got to really have long streamers and everything. They got to not be beat up or anything. They got to look really good. But I'm trying to think of anything else that I really fall in love with. I mean, a super big fire eel, like a 3-foot fire eel, is always impressive. Yeah. Someone asked if there was less tiger barbs in here. There's no less. They just aren't congregating as much as they normally would. I can probably get them to start coming over here. But I think I am going to replace the tiger barbs with something else eventually. Albino corridors and a 20-gallon with juvenile bristlenose should be just fine. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Advice for fire eel owners: know that you'll probably lose it from it getting out of the tank. Think of it as like an arowana with more power, because they don't have to swim and then just jump. They can kind of prop against something and force their way out. And so a lot of people lose their fire eels to that. So, did you know that Walmart keeps... Okay, this doesn't make sense. Did you know that Walmart keeps its makes bettas with other fish now? Oh, male bettas, I bet. Keeps its male bettas with other fish now? Good. I mean, we keep all of ours with other fish. What methods of conditioning water would I recommend for water conditioning? So in a perfect world, you'd have a carbon block filter that just removes chlorine and that kind of stuff, so you don't have to add any chemicals. But if you're using a dechlorinator, I really like Hikari Ikex. Or no, Hikari Ikex. Hikari, my brain. It's not even Hikari. It's technically Aquarium Solutions, which is owned by Hikari. But Ultimate is what I was trying to say. Ultimate is my favorite. Prime is your best dollar to penny ratio or dollar to gallon to chlorinated ratio, but it's got the smell thing and it doesn't have any slime coat or aloe vera in it. All right. I'm from Southern California looking to raise fancy guppies outside in a large tub. I already have some feeder guppies going in 2 tubs. Awesome. I'm trying to line up a visit to California in August. That's what I'm trying to do. There's a fish room I want to refilm because the first time I filmed it didn't come out well. And then I want to do a meetup somewhere, but not quite sure how we're going to get it done yet. We'll figure it out, though. Where'd the jungle valve go in the 800 gallon? Yeah, so when we had the max gyre pump on the side that was really pumping, it kind of laid it all down, and then the big clown loaches snacked on it when they were new, and so it's coming back. Like if I move out of the way, you can see it's still there, and it's coming back, but they were munching on it for sure. They didn't want to take dry or frozen foods. They wanted to eat my plants. Now they'll eat it, or frozen foods and dry foods and that kind of stuff, but at the beginning they were shy, and they wanted to eat those plants, so I let them. Does carbon inserts affect fertilizer dosing? It can, yeah. So carbon definitely could take fertilizers out of the water. And in general, I'm not a big fan of carbon unless I know I have a toxin or something I need to remove from the water. So, yeah. Starting my first aquarium. Do you have any tips for first-time aquarists? My tip is always plant your aquarium. So set that aquarium up and get plants start growing, and don't add fish until your plants are either growing really well or your tank is covered in algae. If either one of those is happening, it's really difficult to screw up. Like, you're going to go, oh, but algae looks terrible. Yes, but it will be very, very healthy for your fish and will allow you a lot of room for mistakes. Same thing if you have a lot of plants. I gotta drink some more water. Do I ship guppies? No, I don't ship any fish. I was trying to convince, I think it was after Real Fish Talk, when Dean was here, I was trying to convince Dean to quit his job and just sell fish, and that would solve a problem for me. And he said, he's got a contract he's got to do, so. Did I see the King of DIY's fish today? Yeah, you got some exodons. Yep, pretty common fish, I would say. What's my favorite puffer? Oh wait, based on looks, not personality or care requirements. I think the Cross River puffer looks really cool. Let me make sure. Yeah, I think the Cross River puffer looks super cool. It might just be because it's so rare and I've never seen one in person, but the pictures look really cool. So either that or a super red Murius puffer. Both of those. I just want to make sure. Yep. Both those are really on the... Oh, those look super cool. Is it worth using CO2 in my 10-gallon tank for my plants with normal gravel substrate? I would say, James, if you own a CO2 kit, sure, use it. Otherwise, you're probably going to grow plants without it anyway. Like, how do I explain CO2? It just makes it easier and better, but not required. I'm trying to think of, like... I feel like CO2 is like buying a new car, but you already own, but you trade in your old car that worked just fine. Like, it is better and you enjoy it more, but I'm not sure that it's like you need it or it's critical, right? So, the best substrate for a fancy goldfish tank? Oof. Answering this question, if I answer anything, it will stir up a debate. I could say bare bottom, and X amount of goldfish people will say I'm crazy. But I'll tell you what I use. Like, in a perfect world for my goldfish, I would keep them on what is it? Carob Sea cichlid sand. It's basically a mix of coarse sand and shells. That's personally what I would do. It's a very, like, not super fine mix, but it's not coarse either. So there's no choking hazard, but it also buffers and lets them root through it. Let's see here. Do I have a CO2 video? I do have a CO2 video. It is on the Real Fish Talk channel. If you go over there and you type in CO2, you'll find it. Let's see here. So yes, we're almost done. If you want to support me, go to the Patreon account, sign up. $1 or more gets you in the club, and that gets things started. Like, I'll probably think of some cooler stuff to do. In theory, if all my software was working correctly, it would show, like, when someone signs up for the Patreon over on the video and how many current viewers we have and that type of thing. I think I've figured out, like, where I went wrong on here, but hey, not bad for first time, brand new software. DIY CO2 with sugar and yeast versus a cylinder. I feel like everyone should experience DIY CO2 once. Like, just build it yourself, though. Get, like, a bottle, do it yourself, make it ghetto, and get some results. So that way you're like, wow, for a few days, my tank was doing awesome. And then, oh, man, it's kind of a pain in the butt. Then you can judge whether you want to go buy CO2. So think of it like you own a 1992 Toyota Corolla, and you're going to test drive the 2018 Toyota Corolla for 3 days. After those 3 days, you'll know, should I buy it or should I just keep with the one I got? That's kind of what I think the DIY CO2 really does for most people. So, because the cylinder is more reliable, it's easier, it's a lot of luxury. You could technically grind your way through infinite DIY CO2 bottles. And I've seen people have some really elaborate setups. But when you get that elaborate, at some point I got to ask them, like, just buying the stuff, right? Like, over the course of a year, it's just cheaper to go with, a cylinder, especially if you're buying on Craigslist and that type of thing. So, what fish do I sell the most of? I think guppies are our current most sold fish. I'd have to look. Cardinal tetras are up there as well. I think those are the two. When I worked in the store more, we sold a lot of autosynclus as well. So, it's 6:03 though, and I know that dinner is supposed to be ready at 6. So, I'm going to start wrapping this up. I want to thank everyone for hanging out. On the way out, consider sharing the stream. That's one of the best things you could do if you enjoyed it. I know we got a little ranty at first. Hopefully you guys are enjoying. I did laugh internally when someone said, I'm enjoying the new format. In my mind, I was like, well, really, it's the old school format. We've just reverted back to it when I think it was, I think I definitely had a lot of fun without the super chat. Obviously made less money, but I'm hoping that if you were going to super chat, you're like, oh man, I had $5, so ready for Corey. If you did have that going, that you just redirect that into the Patreon and go hang out over there, see the little miniature videos. I can only make 15-second videos, but it's kind of fun just to go check this thing out and get some perks and that kind of stuff. And I do want to encourage you guys. So there's a lot. I think we have over 300 patrons over there already, right? And a lot of you people were already pledging, let's say, like $20. Make sure you go and choose a reward now that there's rewards so that you get to partake in that. Like, I want to make sure. I mean, you don't have to, obviously, but it's a free thing. So, if you're already donating, make sure you're getting your perks from it and that type of thing. And so, yeah, hopefully I'll get my little doodads working over here. I hope to be back next Sunday, and I really enjoyed tonight, and hopefully the view-wise and all that will do well, and people will enjoy it. Maybe not the ranting part at the beginning, but I had to explain the backstory on why everything changed and doing all that kind of stuff, and I think it's for the best, though. I think it is. So I know we've got a ridiculous schedule to get videos out. Jimmy had to fill in because we had that person get hurt. Jimmy worked at the store yesterday and today, so he's been a super all-star filling in. What did we do yesterday? We went and got all the stuff from the airport and laid some more plans in the warehouse. And then today I had to do this. But yeah, Jimmy's been an all-star, and thank you guys for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. Our peak today was 808, even with the rant, so not doing too bad. So let me just find the right screen, and we will see you next Sunday. But I can't find the right screen. Oh, wait, there it is. All right, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you again.